you don't have to look too hard to realize that the Dark and Darker community is pretty passionate and pretty awesome, with content filling nearly every kind of niche on YouTube and Twitch. That was an unintended rhyme, sorry about that. But anyway, we obviously have the sweaty player streams and videos from guys like Jay, Spud Hunter, So Bad Strange, Repose, Orlanthe, Apollo, Ken Kenobi, and the like. But we also have some pretty stellar humans who stand out purely as creators. Folks like Trackstar and Cyrar with their clip compilations, Derp Wigglies and One Peg, who have been our courtroom news crusaders, guys like Soma, who have provided some weekly podcast copium, and others like Dryfire, Cloud, Jonah Vale, Wilson's Game, and Kracken, who made this B-roll footage that you're looking at right now. And then we have Ryan. Ryan 6 Days a Week entered the scene about 3 months ago with the satirical video about the Scorpion Potion. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. At that point, he completely switched up in his next video with a very thorough breakdown of weapon sweet and sour spots. Next, Ryan really made a name for himself when he dropped his first of several data mining videos. He's crafted some pretty creative and artistically solid pieces as well. All in all, Ryan is the kind of guy you don't want to put in any kind of box, because, well, you never know who he's going to be on the 7th day. So let's start with the question that all the people want to know. Ryan, you are Ryan 6 Days a Week. Who are you on the 7th day?
On the 7th day, oh man, I get that question so much. My answer changes every time.
All right, what do you got for us right now?
Right now, it's just a 7th day. I'm just like, a little more handsome. I'm just Ryan, just like slightly more cool.
All right.
Nothing special. It's actually kind of a last minute name.
So
and it goes way back.
Does it go as far back as the avatar, the VTube avatar that you've got going on?
It does. It was actually, both were conceived and birthed on the same day.
Give us the background there.
So way back, this was, I think a little bit over a year and a half ago, closer to 2 years now, when New World first came out. Did you ever play New World?
I never played, but I had a lot of buddies that did, and I'm familiar with it. I've watched Twitch streams, yeah.
Big game. First, I think it was the first MMO I actually played. First fantasy MMO. But we had a company. We had a company called Barkamedes Nuts, and this was on, I guess, one of the larger servers.
Okay.
Had some notoriety, but I had some buddies ask me to like stream one of the wars because like the main events in the game.
Okay.
And I had no idea what to do. I had no idea, so I just like made a Twitch. I drew up this avatar in Paint in like 3 seconds. Like I think it took like maybe like 2 minutes max. That's because like I changed the color a couple times. And then I took my in-game name, which I made as a complete joke. It was called Biceps 6 Days a Week. And I was going to play a pure strength character. And I just added Ryan to that. So it just became Ryan 6 Days a Week.
I dig it.
Yeah.
And it's stuck ever since.
It's stuck. I use it everywhere now because I'm terrible at coming up with ideas.
So was New World one of the first games or the first game that you ever streamed?
It was, yeah. Actually, I streamed just a war for it. Just like a couple wars. So it was a very like small component of the game. It was just 30 minutes, like once every like 2 weeks. And yeah, it was the first thing I ever streamed. First content I ever put on the internet.
Nice. How did it go?
It was fun. It was fun. I think back then average like 70, 80 viewers, but only for those 30 minutes their chat was just like it would pop off. People would just be flaming each other because it was just all the people in game that navigate to my stream.
Yeah.
And it was just a very violent stream.
Were you doing commentary over top of it?
Oh, very light commentary. It was like basically just like hot mic commentary.
Okay.
Stuff I'd say to myself. But yeah, I also some of the wars I'd shot call, so it'd be like me very like close to my mic, just like breathing hard and like telling people where to go and what to do. It was a wet stream. It was a very moist and humid stream.
So from New World, where did you go next, streaming wise?
Oh, nothing. That Twitch was dead for like a year. Solid year, just being radio silence.
Wow.
I didn't really have much to stream. Like, I feel like, yeah, beyond New World, I don't think anyone would really wanna watch me, like, play any random games. Or it felt like that because, New World's just, like, the majority of my time, majority of my interest, for, like, a good couple months, but, yeah, just, like, kinda just did, like, other stuff, played some games with some friends, but never really streamed.
Gotcha. So maybe a dumb question. I've heard New World pretty much dead game. Are you still playing?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
All right. Hey, what's good, Marty? So you put Twitch on hiatus, put streaming on a hiatus, and then Dad. How did you find it? How did you find our Dark and Darker?
I found it actually pretty late. I found it in playtest 4.
Whoa.
Yeah, mega late. Super, super late, and, it was actually towards the end of playtest 4 because I had some friends, like, come into Discord, be like, "Hey, you guys should check out this game," and I was playing Valorant at the time, so I was, like, not really paying attention to what they were saying,
Mm-hmm.
but, yeah, like, a day later, I was like, "Oh, what was that game you guys were talking about?" And then I downloaded it, and my god, it just hit like a truck.
Yep. Instant
That
crack.
instant crack.
Yep.
It was wild. Everything about it was just amazing. The atmosphere, the mechanics of it, just an all around great game.
Yeah. No, I'm with you 100%. I'm sure the people here agree. It's got the special sauce plus some. And yeah, early on, I think the hook for me, other than just the fantasy PVE, PvP, extraction elements, the full loot, all of those aspects are obviously awesome. But what sold me, and I love the hardcore aspect. I loved loading in for the first time. So I was in the tail end of playtest 1. So I didn't make the private playtest, but playtest 1 was a really short one. I made it in like the last 4 hours. I get in and immediately get killed by the first thing I see. Load back in, I get killed by like the third thing I see. But the fact that the queue times were so outrageously low and you could just instantly get back in and get that dopamine, I was just like, this game is out of control. And from that point on, I just became a Dark and Darker evangelist full time. So it's it's been quite the ride. But now
Oh, definitely.
we have ourselves in a position where for the first time we do not have a date for when our next fix will be had. We it's been a month, right? So May the 9th, the Legend of the Ninth, that was the last time, I think. I didn't double check this, so someone else can fact check me. Dryfire does not like your Valorant pick, by the way. But yeah, so May 9th, I think, is the last time we heard from Terrence. Does that sound right to you?
That does. That does, and it's scary because there's always been a date attached to it. Every announcement.
I
They've been,
know.
like, solid on that.
Yep. I feel like the hype has died down a little bit, at least after they made the announcement on the 9th. I felt like those next 2 weeks, it was a ghost town everywhere. There's virtually no content updates. The Discord, I check it daily. I usually drop into the general chat, much to my regret almost every time. I'll drop in there just to see how busy it is, what the general disposition of everyone is. And then I'll jump into Troubadour chat for a minute and catch up. I love being able to go in there and just kind of see, get back to sanity and then catch up very quickly without all the scrolling. So that's been cool. But yeah, those 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks after the 9th of May, it was just a ghost town. And I just feel like the momentum has gone down and down and down. And it wasn't really until this last week or so that I feel like the Reddit's picked back up, the Discord's picked that back up. And I think a lot of it is just the crazy hype of the 9th.
Yeah, 100%. Like, no news, it's just the cult of the 9. I guess I shouldn't say cult, I'm gonna get attacked for that. The religion of the 9.
Yeah. Yes. The faith.
The faith of the 9. That's one of my favorite parts about the Discord, though. It's like, they carry memes so well.
Oh, they do.
Like, I love it.
It is a very intense fan base, and I do love that as well. Going into the Reddit, someone just posted in there the other day, like, hey, I've never even heard of this game. And then I've stumbled upon this Reddit, and I can't believe the amount of hype and craziness in here. You guys are all insane, and it's getting me excited. When game? You know, like I see this. That was not a unique post. I see those kind of things all the time where people are just like running into the Dark and Darker subreddit and just like, what is this? Where you guys are all mad, but now I want to be on this train. How do I participate? It's great.
Oh
So, what do
man,
you
yeah.
think? What is your prediction for Legend of the Ninth? Tomorrow, are we getting announcement? Are we getting nothing? Or are we possibly getting game?
Oh god. That's a tough question. I get that asked a lot because people, they tend to think, since I've seen like the files, I've done like the data mining, they seem to think that I have an answer for that. Like somewhere hidden in the files, there's like a date attached, but I have no idea. I would just like throw a dart at the calendar and probably have a better guess, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna, you know what, for the hype of the people, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say out of left field, no announcement, it'll come. I say that very unconfidently because when
Yeah.
the last playtest came, there was a date attached.
There is at least some logic to support that position that it might come out of nowhere. I know you keep up with a lot of the lawsuit stuff. You did a video on it, which was great. I've watched all the all the videos that you've done, by the way. Huge fan of the content. And one of the more recent court related things that came up that I'm guessing you saw that one peg did was talking about whether or not the status quo is going to be a consideration. And if Iron Mace, Terry, and SDF have to show up in court, make an appearance, either personally, virtually, or through their by proxy through their attorney. They're on a clock now, right? Like they were subpoenaed. They've got to show up within what, the next week, week and a half, something like that. And at that time, the judge could maybe, if I and I'm speaking off the cuff here, obviously, audience, not as an attorney, but what I've gleaned is that there is a risk, if and when they show up, that there could be a motion made to get a preliminary injunction, in which case Iron Mace would have to freeze all public facing development, right, or publishing of any work. So I think they're still permitted behind the scenes to work, maybe, but they can't publish anything new. So that would mean that there is an incentive for them to get EA going before the judge could do that. And the flip side of that coin would be that if they do that, maybe that makes them look bad. So there's a lot of speculation there. What's your take on all of that insanity?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, I'm in the same boat. Actually, I don't know too much about the legal workings with all that's going on, but I know one of the big, I guess, the most controversial topics is like a whole status quo thing that you brought up, and
Hmm.
like, is following their schedule part of the status quo?
Right,
Because they did publicly state that they want to release EA around this time, and
right,
then I guess Q4 they want the 4 release. So if nothing's changed there, I don't know.
exactly.
Maybe they're just following the law.
Yep. One of the other things I heard that the second that they do release, whether it's through their own launcher or somehow get back on Steam, which I think is very unlikely at this point, but no matter what the channel is that they publish, that Nexon is going to have the document already drafted to go ahead and say, hey, we want the injunction like now. So there would be no incentive for Iron Mace to really announce it to the community in advance. That's the other thing. It's like, if you're going to do the release, you do it instantly, because or you do it over the weekend when the court is not available. I don't know if there's like an emergency hearing that they could get, but if I'm them, I'm doing it at 5:01 p.m. I guess Pacific, because that's where the trial is going to be, or that's where the case was filed, right? Washington State. So that's Pacific Standard. So I'm doing that at 5:01 Pacific Standard Time Friday afternoon when the court can no longer do anything. If that's how that works. Again, I'm kind of speaking out of my ass here because I don't know if I don't know if you can call the judge after hours and he's picking up the phone and saying, "Oh yes, now I'll go ahead and give you the injunction." I don't think that's a thing, but yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea. I hope that's the case. I hope that happens like right on the dot 5. just Discord would blow up.
Oh, it would be so glorious. So very glorious. Well, you mentioned data mining. I want to get back to that topic because you've done a ton in that regard. Had several videos come out. There's been a little bit of controversy on Reddit about that, and maybe it extends even beyond that. I think you've probably seen more around that topic, or you obviously know more than anyone around that topic when it comes to the controversy there. All I know is that you had the post up linking to your YouTube video for data mining. Someone in that thread said, "Oh, it's okay. Ryan got approval," but that guy didn't claim to like. I'll shut up there. How did all that play out? Like, what's the real story behind that?
So it was one of my buddies put it on Reddit. I two posts. The first time was one of my friends. Second time, I think it was one of my friends. I didn't really check out the post, but the second one that went up and got taken down, I think the mods already had spoken, or I think Iron Mace actually were the ones that contacted the mods
Mm,
and then asked them not to have any data mining content on their Reddit. So I can't
okay.
blame them there. They're just doing their job.
Yep.
In terms of someone in the comments claiming that I got approval from Iron Mace, that part is true. So it's actually something I went out of my way this time. Not on the first video, but the second time, I went and spoke to Iron Mace and was like, hey, found a bunch of stuff. Is it right if I publish this, make a video on it?
Mhm.
And it was a pretty fast conversation, but they were chill with it. And I was like, all right, that's cool. And they just
Okay.
didn't want to share it on their Discord. So I tried to make a big point of like telling everyone not to put it on the Discord. I think it ended up on the Discord anyways, because they're like animals over there. They'll devour any kind of content. So it did leak on a Discord, but I think it was taken down.
Okay. And then
But yeah,
that ended up extending to the Reddit, and you didn't realize it, or your friend didn't realize it.
I think so. Yeah, they originally
Yeah.
told us like any other social streams were fine, but I think somewhere early on, I think they had spoken to the Reddit moderators and were like, hey, we don't want data mining here. So
Gotcha.
it's just following one of the pre-existing rules.
Okay. So in your videos, it's pretty evident that in one in particular that you've got some artistic talent to go along with your data mining skills. Is this something that comes from your day job, or is this just a kind of a side hustle for you? Are you doing this all the time, or tell me about it? How did you get
Not at
into
all.
data mining and all the artistic things that you do?
So I'll start with the artistic stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm actually not a great artist. As you can probably tell from this picture, this is like one of my most in-depth pictures. But this is like the bulk of my working art history. I don't have any professional experience in art. Most of my background actually comes from engineering. My industry and professional experience is all in chemical engineering.
Okay.
So some modeling there, like the modeling you use in that line of work is mostly AutoCAD, SolidWorks, like
Yeah.
really accurate, precise stuff.
Hmm.
It's not too much on the creative side. But I picked up Blender couple months ago, couple months prior to starting Dark and Darker, just to make my channel trailer, which was that really stiff looking blue dude. And I don't know if you've seen it, but it's just a really rough 3D model. I made a Reddit post on it, and it got like reported and taken down on the
What?
art channel for being like not safe for work.
I
It was
no,
very
I have no idea what you're talking. I'm gonna have to go look that up now. I'm
yeah. So
making a note.
that's it is naked. So technically, like the model I made
Okay.
was
All right.
naked,
Okay.
but it's very low poly. Like it's just like a 2D photo basically.
Okay.
But that was like my first kind of creative model. So on the artistic side, no professional experience, but yeah, I guess some modeling experience, which
Okay.
comes in handy with the videos I make now. So I now am a little more comfortable using like different modeling programs, mostly Blender and Unreal Engine, which Dark and Darker's made in. So a lot of it translates over pretty well.
I got to do
But
the what about thing. What about your video where you had built a scene where it kind of slowly pans around this 3D rendered area? I'm trying to find the video right now. You got to know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I do. I do. That video, like, at the time, I was so I guess I still am very proud of it. I'm super proud of it.
Yeah, the trailer. So the Dark Grows unofficial teaser. Yeah, you can probably hear the music right now. A still shot story.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was my first, I guess, long render.
Yeah. So was that was a Blender creation there?
That is, yeah. Most of it's Blender. Some of the particle simulations, I, like, kinda swap between Unreal and Blender, so a little bit of both, but mostly Blender, I'd say.
Okay. And then all the character models that are in the various shots here, were these built from scratch or were those asset imports?
Mostly acid imports. I'd say probably 60% of that scene is pre-made.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, probably yeah, maybe like 50-50. I guess you could argue 50-50 from like a time standpoint, but in just like pure volumes, I'd say 50% of that scene.
All right. So now I'm going to argue with you. I think this qualifies as artistic talent. Are you telling me I'm wrong? This feels like art to me. That was
If
really,
you call
really
it
cool.
art, I'll take it. I'll take it. There's a lot now, like most of the skills, I guess, really sort of ramped up in the last couple of months since I've had so much downtime not playing Dark and Darker.
Yeah.
So I feel like now if I were to redo that, there'd be a lot of change, like a ton of change with it, and hopefully for the better, hopefully better quality. But yeah, it was a very, very early on project, I'd say.
It was a very cool one. And it that may have been the first time I ran across your channel because it was so no, that's not true. I ran across the sweet and sour spots, the hidden weapon sweet spot video that you did 3 months ago. And I don't know, admittedly, I'm guilty. I don't know if I subbed immediately after that one or not, but I definitely saw the data mine monsters. I think I somehow missed the great outside, so I may not have subbed in. I may be guilty. But when you did that, the Dark Grows, Dark and Darker unofficial teaser trailer, that still shot 3D render was just really, really cool and unique. So I was a huge fan by that point. Like that kind of put me over the edge. I was definitely a subscriber.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot to me because, yeah, actually, I didn't grow up with much fantasy influence. Like, I didn't really
Really?
have much of the genre exposed to me growing up. So
So you're not a classic Dungeons and Dragons guy?
no, no. Now I'm reading up so much about it. I'm like going to all my friends, be like, "Hey, you got to tell me everything you know about D&D," because we have a couple of D&D players in our group,
Yeah.
and it's just like it's incredible the amount of world building and time that
Oh
people
yeah.
like do. It's just like there's really awesome stuff out there, really cool works out there.
There is a ton of cool stuff. And now with AI being what it is and Chat GPT being as accessible as it is, I think there's going to be a huge, just massive boom in AI as a dungeon master potentially. So you'll be able to do one shot campaigns as a solo player if you want. I've actually had GPT create a couple different modules for me and just run them, and it'll do pretty well to an extent, but it's got like a limit to its memory buffer, so it starts to forget things after a while. But for the first like 20 minutes, it's like having an actual dungeon master, and you can set up a campaign in a matter of seconds. It's just absurd. But yeah, I feel like there's going to be a renaissance of classic D&D, whether that's played online or in a physical tabletop setting. I think games like Dark and Darker, Dread, Project Crawl, and these other clones that we'll talk about here in a bit are just going to do wonders for the D&D world. And I'm curious how AI is going to fit into it.
Oh yeah, we're on the cusp of it.
Indeed. So data mining, you've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, counting, let's say at least 6, maybe 7 different videos that are related to data mining for Dark and Darker. I don't think it's a stretch to say that you are the number one Dark and Darker data miner at this point. Out of all of the things that you have discovered in your searches, what is the most? What are some of your favorites? What's the most interesting to you? Start with the historical, if you could, and then we'll work our way towards what you think's coming in early access.
Ooh, okay. Oh man, that's a tough question because I'm a huge nerd. So I'll give the boring answer first on what I think is the most interesting.
Okay.
But on their previous, so playtest 5, the most previous playtest, there's a lot of system security measures, a lot of like I guess even data mining protection measures that were put in, a lot of encryption,
Hmm.
and I think that's awesome. I think any game that's looking out for like their security and player security is huge. It's
Yep.
important. So it's cool that this is being considered, even though if it makes my job a little bit harder. I think it's a good sign.
Yep.
And then the more fun answer, oh, honestly, I think the perk and the or sorry, I'll start older. Demons, 100% demons
Yeah.
from the one of the first ones. I think that's gonna be an incredible addition. There's so many variations, and I don't know. I feel like they're gonna add a new environment for them too. They probably won't just throw them into hell
I think you're
or
right.
inferno.
Yep.
So that's gonna be awesome. Especially the fact that there's like so many different kinds of magic damage types in Dark
Right.
and Darker.
Yep.
They like have to tie that in somehow.
Right. Yeah. So when you brought that up in that video, you were saying both the magic types associated with it not only could be resistances, but it could be outgoing as well, right? It could be damage types that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I think the demons could be really, really interesting and difficult to deal with, which that's the kind of stuff that gets you excited for sure. Like really, really difficult AI, PvE. All right.
Oh yeah.
What else? What else?
Oh man. Besides the demons, I guess we're pushing more towards some of the later stuff now. I think Slime Forest, the pre-made environment, I think it's gonna be incorporated into runes. I'm pretty hyped for that because that's adding in a lot of new mob types and I guess just new areas are fun as well. But it'd be cool to see like the harpy and the slime in the most previous data mine bid to actually like show up in EA.
The harpy, I can at least visualize what the model looked like. It was pretty crazy. But the slime, if I'm remembering correctly, that was not. You weren't able to get that to render. It was just like a skeleton for the slime, right?
Yeah, had like a bunch of rigged bones and yeah,
Yeah.
nothing really rendered in correctly. But yeah, I'm hoping that slime forest or whatever I guess module I found. I'm hoping that's just like I don't know a hint to something bigger.
Yeah.
Like I know the maps are gonna get pretty big, but I hope that means like an entirely new map beyond the ruins.
Yeah. Oh, like you mentioned in a couple different of your videos, I believe, like going back to the SDF's Q&A, it was very clear that his intent is to build a lot of environments and how they're going to tie all that together, whether or not there's going to be lore or some overarching story with it. It's so cool to think about how all of that is still TBD. And this game is already as good as it is, and we still have barely scratched the surface of what it's going to be.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I could not find, and I really hoped I could, was any information on their dragon boss,
Mm.
because that's been brought up a lot of Q and A's. FTF like says he wants to add a dragon
Oh,
somewhere.
yeah.
6 players.
Yep. I ended up getting leaked some inside info at one point right before last playtest. And that individual led us to believe that the dragon was planned for PT5, but then pulled at the last minute. So the dragon is coming.
Oh, interesting.
It may even be an EA, and I don't know if we're talking like it's a baby dragon that's like a mini boss, or maybe it's a really big boy that is going to be the baddest of the bad. I'm not sure.
I hope so. I hope it's gonna be just like impossible to kill. They gotta up the difficulty. I think.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, when you get guys like Kist and Orlanthe that are just grinding 24/7, and like even if it's EA and it's just out, the first month they're going to be on 24/7, and they're going to be the guys saying, I got the first unique item, I got the first boss kill. Yeah, those guys, Narek,
who was one of the other guys that was just an absolute savage. I'll have to go back and look at the metrics, but all the guys that I ended up getting killed by is basically, the list of the sweatiest folks. And I didn't spend a lot of time on High Roller either, but it was just those guys were in every freaking raid all the time. So the very few times I do show up on High Roller, they're the ones that kill me. Like they're just
Oh, man.
always there, those guys. Depress was one of the other ones. Narek, Depress. Yeah, Uberkiss or Lanthy, those guys just they baffle me.
It's wild.
What
I
about
ran
you?
into.
Go ahead.
Oops.
Go ahead.
Oh no, see, I ran into Jay Griffey
Yeah.
on it was in a high roller lobby. Well, on accident. So it's like my team just queued up and then we got destroyed by a cheater. It was a cheat out. I'm not sure if they entirely patched it out.
Hmm.
I don't want to go too deep in the details because I know that they did some work on like some of the cheats that came up in last playtest.
Yeah.
We got wiped out, and I was like, oh man, I need to take a break. So I hopped on Jay's stream,
Yeah.
and the moment I did, I like saw my body, and then he and his team just got wiped out with the same dude, in the same lobby. But it was like, yeah, it's probably like over 12K gold of kits just like dropped in that one
Oh
spot.
man, was he running with Repose that time?
I think he was running with Orlanthi.
Oh,
And
really?
one other.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an expensive lobby, a really pricey lobby.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Jeez.
it's wild.
Yeah. I don't know that I ran into any cheaters, or if I did, it was unknowing. But I'm really hopeful. And that's one of the few things, other than Nexon and lawsuits. And we talked about this in the past on these things. Like one of the very few things that could kill this game at this point is that. And it seems like, because they publish the analytics, right? At the end of each playtest, they'll put all the data out there and you can look at it when they're banning users, when they're eliminating cheats. If they're able to get what feels like 80%, let's say 85% of the cheats during a playtest, gives me a lot of confidence that they're going to be really effective once the game is released. So I don't know if you feel the same way there. Do you spend a lot of time looking at the data when they publish it?
I do. Oh, I love the data. I love the data. I love like seeing different people break it down too.
Yeah.
Like different opinions on it.
Yep. Any particular people that you like to watch break it down?
I've no favorites right now. Every like playtest would be like a different group of people. But I mean, whatever shows up on Reddit and Discord, I'll just like binge watch all the data collection ones.
Yep. Same. You ever watch any of Cloud's content?
I have. Yeah, Cloud. Okay, that's a familiar name. I dig Cloud.
I do too. He's good. He breaks down some of the data from time to time. There's another guy, I think his name is Sean. Is it Sean the accountant? He basically only shows up when they release the data and then he goes in and breaks it down. Maybe he's a statistician, but he has some interesting takes on there. But I'm the same, man. Like I work in data analytics for a living, so I love it when they release that stuff. And I cringe a little bit because like from a data viz perspective, there's so much more they could be doing to make it nice and clean. But I know that's not the priority. It's just to get it out. But that's how this YouTube channel and all this madness started for me. Is I sent a note to Iron Mace and said, hey guys, can I help either as a volunteer or I'll subcontract through my company, but I'd love to help with data analytics or data viz. And that email went unanswered, of course, because they were just probably swamped after playtest 3 when the game went to 2 million users or Steam accounts, something like that. So I wasn't surprised when I didn't get an answer, but I was like, I've got to do something with or for this game. And that's how this channel originated. It's like, screw it. I'm a 45-year-old borderline boomer, but I'm going to start a YouTube channel and try to promote the hell out of this game. And here we are.
Dude, hell yeah. I dig that, Scott. That is awesome. I love seeing like YouTube channels grow too. Like seeing your channels grow, and I don't know, it's just like a cool feeling. Like people are getting interested in the game through your channel. And like it's just cool to be part of that community building process.
Absolutely.
It's really awesome.
Oh, the community's been great. So getting to know, Jay Griffia was the first guy I ever interviewed on here. And then from that, like Jay was on the precipice of just launching into the stratosphere. And and I caught him like right at the perfect time. And then after that, Josh, So Bad Strange, he and I connected, and he was already a fairly big streamer and YouTuber at that point, at least for people in the Dark and Darker community. And then it just, yeah, just one after the other. And through the two of those guys, I've just been introduced constantly to countless cool people. And then that snowball effect has just been really, really cool, because now in the Troubadour channel, you get to meet all the people that you watch their videos all the time. It's like I'm constantly getting and jonesing for dark and darker content, and the people's videos that I'm watching, I can just go into the chat with and hit them up. And that's just an awesome thing.
It is. It is. It's a lot nicer of a gaming community too than I'm used to. So it's like it's been a breath of fresh air. Like everyone in the Dark and Darker atmosphere is just like super chill, super kind.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Until you go to general chat. But yes, I agree with the Troubadour channel.
General chat.
The general chat is savage sometimes. Sometimes you'll get it will be just an absolute hype train of the Legend of the Ninth Faithful, like going crazy, and all the memes in there, and it's phenomenal. But every now and then it descends into complete madness, and it's hard to be in there, because I'm the guy that gets easily baited. I'm the guy that'll watch this low quality bait go up, and then I feel like I have to argue on Iron Mace's behalf, and I stopped doing it because I'm too easily triggered and too easily baited.
Oh man. Oh, that's awesome though. I dig your you hold up the line in there in Gen Chat.
Oh Lord,
Fighting the good fight.
Very rarely. So you mentioned earlier that you started PT4, end of PT4. Your buddies got you into the game. When you first started playing, what class did you play?
First class I ever played was Fighter.
Okay.
Because honestly, it seemed the easiest. Only melee, I guess crossbow, bow, but mostly melee. And you didn't really need to like do anything too mechanically challenging.
It's
So
true.
I started with Fighter for sure. I played a little bit of Barb, Cleric, and then kind of repeated the same steps in PT5. But yeah, PT4, there's a lot of deaths, swarmed with deaths, and that sort of inspired the whole like early YouTube videos,
Right.
Dark and Dark, because I was like, there's no guide for this. Like people don't know what to do. I didn't even know like not all weapons could block. I was like trying to block with some of the two-hand weapons.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only legit guide that I know of was that Mad Cow QQ, who did like the original guide after PT 1 or 2, and it was just magnificent. But he didn't keep up with it. Like the amount of work that he put into that first one was absurd. It was like 60 plus pages that broke down the entire game, and I'm pretty sure that was out. It was definitely out by November, but it may have been out in October. So there was that, and then of course the wiki. But I mean, if you don't know that as a new player, right? Like you're definitely right that when you launch into the game, like there's no hand holding. It just says go into the dungeon and die real quick and figure it out. And I love that part. I love that aspect of the game. I love the savagery of it. It's just phenomenal. So first for PT4 for you, any high roller?
A little bit of high roller towards the end, yeah.
Okay.
It was definitely like each time we had 100 gold, we'd be like, all right, high roller time. So it was never like good planning. We didn't really, like plan to go into high roller. It was more like, hey, we could afford it.
Yeah, exactly.
Something weird.
Yep. Okay. What about PT5? A little bit more strategic in that one?
A little more strategic. We actually planned to do a lot more high roller, but as you know, like on Saturday and Sunday, so day 2 and day 3, there's just so much offline time. Like they were swarmed with DDoS, so not as much as we did. I think on day 4, so when I checked Tuesday, I was around 14 or 15 for fighters, and my buddy for cleric, he's around like 12 or 11. So we grinded for a bit, but then we're like, all right, we have no guarantee that we're gonna get our kits back.
Right.
If we go into high roller, we're gonna get like black screened, or we're gonna get like, the queue out bug. So
yeah,
we like stop there. We're like, we got enough high roller for the day. We're not gonna hit one. We're not gonna hit like the real high roller lobby. So
yeah,
to hang out, chill. So
I was in the same
Bard.
Oh, did you play some Bard?
Bard?
I played some Bard. I got my Bard to 15, I think.
Oh man, they gotta. Well, one, they gotta finish the class, but two, they gotta buff that poor Bard.
Oh, I know, man.
Bard is so weak.
I think it has massive potential to be awesome, though. I like the way that they did the was it the lute? Was it lute or lyre that they had? Lute, right? Yeah. The way that you played the lute was relatively simple, but it was just enough interaction to make things interesting, right? Like you couldn't just run around mindlessly. You actually had to think about which song you were playing, where you had to click the notes. And I thought that was cool. It's like just the right level of interaction that you have to make to play the songs. Now, I think long term, they're still going to have to tweak those mechanics because keeping those songs, like you have to have the instrument in your hand, right? And if you have to use both hands to keep your buff active, if you can't fight, that's a problem. Now, I know you can swing the lute at people, but like the range on it is so god awful. It was just not usable at all. I never tried to fight anyone with my lute. I know that.
Oh yeah, I think I got like 1 or 2 kills with it, but
Did you?
they were really, really low. It was like one of those things that they're already running, so you just run out, loot, get a lucky swing, which is already hard to get because the attack animation is so slow.
No, it's
It's such a big
awful.
delay.
It's awful. Yeah. Yeah, it made it really difficult. But I thought the songs that they introduced were good. All three of those were useful. Like getting the mobs to attack each other was just hilarious to watch. It didn't always work. And part of me kind of liked that. I was always wondering if it was intentional or if it was a bug, but occasionally like they would just completely ignore the song, the chaotic discord. And then other times it would just work like a charm. Like you go aggro all the mummies in that one room that's always on the bottom right-hand corner of the map. You go aggro all the mummies in that room, bunch them all together, play chaotic discord, and just watch them wreck each other. It was just fantastic to do. So there's a lot of upside, I feel like, for the Bard, but they definitely have to buff the hell out of it.
Oh yeah. I guess they got time now. So I don't know what else they're gonna be working on.
Do they? Like, dude, I feel like so you mentioned one of the key things of playtest 5, the DDoS attacks. If they're going to go down the path, which it seems like is the most likely one, of creating their own launcher, they've got to figure out a way to deal with that because Steam protects pretty much every gaming company from DDoS attacks at login. If Iron Mace can't use Steam, they can't rely on it. They've got to figure all that stuff out. So in the behind the scenes, not only are they dealing with the court case, and I know the devs aren't really dealing with that day to day, but it's definitely a consideration. They've got the court case going on. They got to figure out how to build a launcher, get it working, secure it, prevent it from getting DDoSed, and then at the same time, do everything they want to do for EA. And even though there are different teams, like in a 30-person company, the bottleneck becomes the people at the top, right? It becomes guys like SDF, it becomes Terrence, these guys that have to sign off on all these decisions. They're now having to deal with like 4 or 5 different work streams at once that are all mission critical. So if they pull that off, dude, I would be even more impressed than I've been in the past with them. It's crazy. What they
Oh,
have to do.
definitely, yeah. That's literally like the impossible. Like there's a lot on the line for Friday. I don't know. Do you think they could get all that done by Friday? They work fast.
Dude, I
They work
know.
really,
They're
really
insane.
fast.
They're insane. Part of me says yes. I don't know, man. I think it'll be difficult. But real quick segue. If they don't, and even if they do, unless it's by 8 a.m., we're going to have a Dark and Darker inspired game, which many of you in the chat may have heard of. There's several out there now. There's a game called Dread, a game called Project Crawl, and a game called Dark. Tomorrow is the first play test for the game Dark. Starting, I think he said at 8 a.m., right? Is it 8 a.m.? Yeah. Seems right.
Yeah, I think so. East Coast time.
Yeah, Eastern
so
Standard.
5 a.m. for me.
Yeah. So there's been some speculation there. Mr. Soma, who runs the Darkest Hour podcast with Donnie and Jay Griffia. Mr. Soma believes it is likely a cash grab because the developer Julian is charging money for supporters to access this playtest unless you're a content creator, right? I don't think I agree with that because this dude's putting his rep on the line here. Number one, he does have what appears to be video of a functioning playable game, which is certainly inspired by Dark and Darker, using a lot of the same assets, but not exactly the same. And he's trying to get content creators to go out there and stream it. So if it was just a cash grab, it's going to be a one and done and a very low volume of money coming in, right? Like he's not getting a lot. So that'd be a lot of effort for very little money ultimately, because there's going to be a lot of people, maybe not a lot, a fair amount percentage wise that are streaming this Dark game tomorrow. And to do all that just to cash grab seems kind of silly. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that would be a really silly strat to cash grab. And one thing I will say though, because you know me, you know me, I like to dig into stuff. I like to look into things.
Yeah.
So I checked out the dev. I checked out their GitHub. Checked out they linked their Reddit. They linked their YouTube. A lot of their socials. Their Git is mostly just like their website, which is just a list of links. Like that's all the work published on their Git. And their Reddit has one post, and they all just sort of link towards each other. And I don't want to discredit them. I'm sure like they have a very private life as well.
Sure.
So it's just like a very, very thin layer that I'm cutting into.
But it's fair to say it's not confidence inspiring what you've discovered so far.
It's not. It's not, but at the same time, I imagine that they are, I don't know, pretty early on their game development career. Like this could be like one of their first projects. And this could be like, maybe they don't actually know how to like publicize themselves correctly or, I don't know, provide information.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know what to say. I've been swinging back and forth. I was actually in the Discord today. Julian, the lead dev, the only dev as far as I know, he was in voice chat. And there's about 30 other people in there. So we were basically just hanging out. I was just listening in. I joined in like a little bit late. And it's just like people basically like making accusations, yelling at each other. And this whole time I was waiting for Julian to say something. Because you've got a lot of content creators like in this one channel. Like this is your time to like, you know, share some confidence here. At least prep them for what the plan is for the weekend.
Yeah.
But
nothing.
He didn't say anything. Yeah, said nothing at all. What he did do, he shared his screen for about 2 seconds. Because people were asking for any kind of hint of gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
And what came up was the Unity, I guess, you know, the engine screen. It had like a list of files and like some assets. Nothing really descriptive, but it's just a loading screen. Which I personally found kind of odd.
Yeah.
Because the duration, like in Discord, you could like add like what you're currently playing. I think it said he was playing like level 1 for 14 minutes. But what he showed was just like a flash of the loading screen.
Interesting.
Which, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to bash anything right now. I haven't seen any gameplay.
Especially when we're going to find out in less than 12 hours, right?
Yeah, less than 12 hours.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think in the long run, Dark and Darker will have like too much real competition.
I agree.
Like, it takes a lot to develop a game. It takes a lot of really talented people to pull off what Dark and Darker, what Iron Mace did. So I think these companies just starting now, like even if they have like 2 or 3 months in development, it's going to take them years to get anywhere close to where Dark and Darker's at.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, this whole argument, and it's used for a lot of games. Well, I don't want to say a lot. I've heard the argument frequently. Oh, well, they're just using store-bought assets, and that somehow that diminishes the quality of a game. And I completely disagree with that. It's like you don't apply that anywhere else in your life, really, if you think about it. It's like if you get a house built for you, you're not getting mad at the builder because he did not craft the planks of wood or make the concrete. Like there is the architect that put that together, and then the developers that actually took those materials and pieced them together in that way to make it its own expression of an idea. That is the talent. And then the execution, the community engagement, and everything else to go along with it, like that is special. So I get so pissed anytime I hear people like just ragging on the store-bought asset thing. Like, it drives me nuts.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And also I think one of the coolest parts about Dark and Darker is the whole melee combat system. And I can assure you that part was in-house.
Yep.
There's no purchase asset revolving around there, like mechanics around melee combat. So
Right.
I think they nailed that.
They did, dude. It feels so good. Love that combat. I don't know if Dread, Dark, Project Crawl, I don't know if they're going to try to mimic it. And that's the thing that'll be interesting. As more and more clones come out, will the strategy be to truly just try to flat out copy as much as you can from Dark and Darker without getting sued? Or do you try to tweak parts of the secret sauce like that combat and risk it just being complete trash because of it? I don't know. I don't know, man. Don't know what the answer is there.
Oh yeah. I am excited though that people are starting to like develop clones. Because even though the Iron Mace has my heart, love Dark and Darker,
Yep.
but I do think competition is the
100%.
biggest driving factor for quality.
Yep. Absolutely. And not only that, there may be a side benefit that it helps them legally, right? If Nexon is arguing that Iron Mace had to have, this access, that trade secrets were leveraged because the Iron Mace devs once worked for Nexon, if their argument, their main argument, because I think the copyright one fails miserably, but if trade secrets is going to be argued, then how have all these other developers without access to Nexon's trade secrets, how have they come up with these revolutionary ideas, and how have they executed this in that amount of time? Like, I think all of these clones only bolster Iron Mace's case when it comes to the pending lawsuit.
Definitely. Oh,
We'll
man.
see, man. We'll see. So what are you
Tomorrow's
hyped
gonna be
about?
great.
What are you hyped about for EA? Let's assume whether it's tomorrow, next week, next month. It's coming. We know it's coming. What are you most hyped about?
Besides just being able to play the game, I think the new classes. I enjoyed the 7 classes we have now, but I think more variety leads to like more unique game experiences.
Mhm.
And that's to like the whole replayability factor, more
100%.
variation in who you're fighting.
Yep.
And I think Warlock's gonna be sick. I think Druid's gonna be awesome.
Yep.
But I really hope they do Paladin justice.
Me too, man.
That there's a lot of people waiting on that class.
Oh yes.
So I'm real hyped about that one.
Yeah, me too. I'm a cleric main first, wizard second. And when I played D&D, when I first started playing D&D, so this again is pointing to my age, I played AD&D second edition, which would have been like 1992-ish, 1993-ish. And we had an awesome dungeon master. And then the second edition of D&D, when we first fired it up, our DM knew that we were all brand new to the game, so he didn't really explain all the subclasses. And I wanted to play like the most versatile character of all time. And back then you could multi-class pretty easily. So I had a fighter, cleric, magic user. And then as we got further along into this campaign, which the guy had built an entire world, and it was just so awesome. We played for 2-3 years, all in the same world, multiple campaigns. But about halfway in, I don't know, year and a half in, dude's like, oh, by the way, Paladin is a subclass that you can get. It's like, oh my gosh, I would have just started with that. I didn't need to level up a fighter because it's brutal back in those rules. because you actually have to choose what you're going to level each time. So as you gain XP, just like in any game, like just imagine playing a fighter, cleric, wizard in Dark and Darker, having access to like the most level, like only level 1 stuff. But when you gain enough experience to level, you can only level one of those character classes. So you end up with like a level 2 fighter, a level 1 cleric, a level 1 magic user, right? And all I was really trying to do was just build a paladin. I guess that's the moral of the story. I really wanted to have a paladin. So I'm geeked for that too. I know you uncovered some, was it warlock or druid related things in your data mining? I want to say it was druid, or maybe it was both.
Very light warlock stuff. Two
That's
perks.
okay.
2 perks. And
What?
actually, yeah, I'm not sure if they're directly related to warlock. They're just 2 perks that haven't yet been implemented.
Gotcha. Speaking of perks, I wanted to bring this up earlier. One thing that you said in one of your videos that I found really interesting was um, you were talking about double jump in the way that the naming, it was either the naming convention for that or where it resided within one of the directories, that double jump you were kind of led to believe that it may be removed as a perk and then added as a enchantment to a item instead.
That's what, yeah, it was pretty heavy speculation.
Right.
The main driving factor on that was the animation. So the moveset was basically stored in a global file. Some of that could be applied to just a character aside from its class and perk selection.
Mhm.
So I think that right there sold it to me. It could just be like how it's organized or how they decide to do it. Maybe it's a bit of a rushed move, but it made me think that, this can be applied to any class, like an item. It'd make more sense for them just to tie it directly to an item.
Right.
So nothing confirmed yet. That was definitely like the more heavy speculative comments I made. So I do think if they went with that, I think that'd be a pretty good balancing decision because they already have some unique, I guess, perks that are item bound. I
Yeah.
think I brought up Aegis in the video.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also like the burn that you get from the Cinder, that's also like technically an item bound skill, as well as I think was it Fulgor has the lightning strike,
Right.
also an item bound skill.
Yep.
So it's definitely on track for that. Like it's set up at least in the file structure to be applied in that way. But yeah,
Interesting.
right now, nothing else. No other information on it. I dug real deep too on like SDF's previous Q&As, and the most I could find was like some comments. I think it's like a reaction from Grayson way back on some comment asking about unique items like that.
Hmm.
Or unique armors. Sorry, that was the big one because there are no unique armors yet. No named armors.
Right. Right. No named armors, no named staffs, no named crystal ball, no named books. Magic users just not getting a lot of love. I mean, Aegis, a cleric can use Aegis, and they did get pulverizing prayer, I guess. So cleric got a little love,
A little bit of love, yeah.
little, but wizards, no love for the wizards.
Endgame wizards, they're pretty nasty though. They're definitely like the strongest endgame class. Like
Oh yeah, yeah. The ceiling is insane, but you have to pay your dues to get there, and you have to have a little bit of skill to make that work. But it's so fun to play. I am a average, slightly. I mean, for my age, I guess I'm probably better than most. But when it comes to gaming against all you guys that are in your teens, 20s, 30s, even like I'm average at best. But playing wizard, man, I don't even care. It's like I'll go in and lose a fight, but just the amount of adrenaline that you get from playing that class is just fantastic. I'm so curious to see how they're going to do warlock, how they'll do sorcerer. Sorcerer will be really interesting. They've got so much that they can draw from Dungeons and Dragons. It's going to be really cool. Do you feel like the radial menu is a good way for spells to be selected? And if so, do you also think there should be an option to hotkey your spells?
Oh man, that's a tough question. I do like the radial menu. I come from many hours in Rust, so I'm used to that
Mhm.
mechanic.
Yep.
Radio selection. And it does add like some, I guess, some gameplay disadvantage too. If you're like flicking through spells, you can't necessarily like turn or like pre-position your crosshair.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, like it's kind of a balancing factor. But I don't know. Hotkey, when you mention hotkey, is that like single bound spells, like a specific hotkey?
Right.
Oh, that might be too strong. I don't know. I feel like that's so okay. One big thing, I don't endorse it, but I know some mouse brands you could bind the mouse keys to like hotkeys or like hotkey combinations. So I'm sure already now people are able to do that, like the mouse movement radial.
Oh, you mean
The
the script, like basically take the XY position of where your mouse cursor needs to go and script that out to bind it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is like a mouse function. So I'm sure like people now are using like a hotkey to select spells,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm not sure adding it as like a function of the game. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Then again, if you're a good wizard, you're gonna be a good wizard.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
not gonna
true.
it's not gonna overbuff things.
Yeah.
But
It's more about knowing, well, positioning for one, and knowing which spell to use when, two. Um, yeah, maybe that's one of my favorite things about the game is as an old man, I don't feel like I need to be as like fast twitch, super sweaty. I train on Kovacs 6 hours a day guy that just has, the best micro in the world. I don't feel like I need to be that guy to be successful or have fun in the game, right? Because so much of the game is strategic and tactical and not fully dependent on your ability to aim as well or click as fast as the next guy. And that's what I really dig.
that's true. That's true. And I gotta let you know, Scott, when I started posting dark and darker content, the average age range of my viewers doubled. Like it went from like when I was posting like Rust stuff way back, it was just like I think like average was like 15 years old or something like that.
Right.
Average now is in the 30s. So like
No
the
kidding.
age range of this
Wow.
game is definitely like higher up, which I
Yeah.
think go like points towards what you're saying too. Like it doesn't require like any like insane like big flick, high mechanical aptitude like, movements. Like people aren't like aim training for this game, which is good. I kind of like that too. I don't want it to become like a sweat fest on grinding training simulations, but
Right.
yeah, it's cool to see like a pretty like you know a higher up age range.
Yeah. Yeah. At some point, somebody made a comment. I don't know if it was Jay or Spuddy. We haven't even mentioned Spud Hunter. He's one of the best freaking content creators for this game out there. One of those two guys said, it's a game made by boomers for boomers, but everyone loves it. And it was just like, yeah, I think it kind of is. Like most of those guys are in their 30s and early 40s and all grew up doing the same kind of stuff I did, playing tabletop D&D and original Nintendo. I mean, shoot, I grew up, we had a Atari 2600 in my house and I was playing Pong when I was 3 years old. So like I was at the very beginning of actual console video games and then everything after. And yeah, I feel like a lot of these guys in Iron Maze kind of went through that exact same process. So you kind of feel it in the soul of the game to an extent. But it's obviously had a very broad appeal, and I hope they can keep that going.
Yeah, definitely. I dig that too. Made for boomers, but enjoyed by everyone. That's a good quote.
Yeah.
That's solid.
Yeah, I wish I could remember if it was Jay or Spuddy that said it. I don't have the time to go back, and I mean, they both have so many videos. There's no chance I'm finding it. But yeah. Well, I asked what you were hyped about. Do you, outside of the court case, what concerns do you potentially have? Knowing what you know, what you've experienced as a player, what you've data mined, what you know about gaming in general. Do you have any major concerns for the game going forward?
Oh man, this is a well shared concern, but hackers, of course, like it's a very high risk game, full loot game.
Yeah.
And hackers they're always going to be a problem in these games.
Yep.
So that's my biggest concern, and that's going to be driven by RMT, of course, real money trading. So I don't know how they're going to combat that. Gold holds a lot of value in this game.
No
So
doubt.
people are willing to pay out for that.
Yep.
And it is part of the reason why I decided not to use my webcam today, because I was originally going to make a video about visiting all these like hacker discords, because I come from Rust, which had a massive hacking issue
Oh
a couple
yeah.
years ago.
Yep.
They didn't solve it till like, I guess it's still unsolved now, but
It's
they
better
really brought
now.
it down.
It's better now.
It's a
Yeah.
little bit better. But I was gonna join in on it, and it got to the point that like people were like recognizing my account. I wasn't using my Ryan6DaysAWeek account, but I was using a different Discord account, and it got my Ryan6DaysAWeek account like temporarily banned. And I don't know how they're able to link that together. It could have been just like maybe through IP, and it just like raised flags at Discord.
Right. Yeah. If you're not
But
using a VPN, yeah, they could track the IP for sure.
yeah, so I don't know. There's some really angry people out there. Also, I used to spend way too much time getting people banned in Rust. Like, I hate hackers, dude. I literally
Yeah, me too.
spend like weeks just like finding every related member whenever there's a hacker and like listing it out to the mods and be like, hey, you gotta ban these people. I have all this video, so much video on it. But yeah, got me on some like, I don't know, in some like not so great situations.
Yeah, that's a little frightening. So what is there's a really popular tool. There is it goes by a couple different names. There's AI cheat detection that's out there that looks really promising. Like
AnyBrain?
AnyBrain, yes, that's it.
Brain.
AnyBrain, and it goes by another name as well. But is it AnyBrain that's the company? AnyBrain AI cheat detection. Gosh, yeah, I know when I watched the video, it was going by a different name. I'll have to look it up. But essentially, yes. I'm really curious to see how well it's going to perform. The video that I watched, the guys that work for AnyBrain claimed that it could ban with like 99% accuracy based on your player fingerprint, right? So it doesn't care if you switch your IP address. It doesn't care if you can spoof your MAC address. It doesn't care if you get a brand new computer. It doesn't care. The way that you behave as a gamer creates a fingerprint that this AI will basically store. So if you have AnyBrain functioning on Dark and Darker, it's recording every player behavior, logging all of these different mechanics and behaviors, and creates a fingerprint for you. And if it detects that you're cheating, which it can apparently do with 99% accuracy, then it doesn't just ban your Mac, your IP, or your account. It bans you as a player forever. And it can share, like I think what they're trying to do with that AnyBrain database is expand it out so that it can be shared amongst game publishers and developers, so that you could just say, hey, this person is on the permaban list from all games. Which, oh my gosh, if they could pull that off, like how magnificent would that be? Like the risk of cheating then would be so high that people would be scared to death to do it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think there's another company out there, another company using AI detection, sorry. So they do some competitors, but the only concern I have, of course, is like false positives. 'Cause,
Yep.
it is really hard to keep every variable in control when you're making these decisions.
Right.
Another one too is I guess AI right now, it seems like the biggest biggest like learning models are built around shooters.
Mhm.
So like crosshair placement,
True.
that kind of movement.
Yep.
So it might be a bit before a game like Dark and Darker can benefit from that technology.
That's true. That's true.
But I have my hopes. I have my hopes for that.
Same. Yeah, I'm really curious to see how that's going to go. I mean, Iron Mace won me over, not only with their game early on, but when they did a lot of the Q&As. Terrence did one. He talked about it with Jonah Vale at one point. He had even talked about it, I think, on what was the name of that group? There was a crew of guys that I've never seen since. They interviewed Terrence like after playtest 2, maybe. And they had a pretty small podcast. And I don't think they've ever done any Dark and Darker content since, but I can't remember what their name is. But they had asked Terrence about cheating. So it's come up multiple times. And every time their response has been exactly, and maybe they're just telling us what we want to hear, but it was exactly what I wanted to hear. Like they're taking it very seriously. So hopefully they could use something like AnyBrain or whatever the other alias for that or competition is to make Dark and Darker safe. I'm a terrible streamer, guys. I'm sorry in the chat. Skillet several minutes ago mentioned that he actually has me beat in real life levels. He's 50. So he's proof that this game is built for the elderly.
I like that, real life levels.
Shoot, man. Well, we're slightly over an hour already. I don't know how long you want to hang out, man. I think we've covered all of our topics except maybe speculation for what will actually show up in EA. So we did speculate on when it might happen. We talked a lot about what you've data mined. And, we talked about what you're hyped about, concerned about, but what do you actually speculate is going when EA drops? What do you think is almost certainly going to be there that wasn't there before?
Certainly going to be there. I'd
Yeah.
say some new weapons. I mean, they have the models and rigging for some. I think there's going to be new mobs, of course, because those are basically done. I'm actually surprised they didn't make it in for this last playtest. Like, new mobs will be there. I don't think there's a new map in the works quite yet. I think I don't even know. Not entirely from like a development perspective. I don't think that's what's holding it up, but I think just from like, I don't even know. They haven't mentioned anything about new maps. I haven't really seen anything, so I don't think a new map's going to be there.
I agree.
I do think Warlock is going to be there.
You do?
Wow. I do.
Wow. That would be
They
sick.
finished Bard, or I guess they didn't finish Bard, but they implemented Bard very, very fast.
They did.
Like,
You're
their
right.
systems are set up
Yep.
for like rapid development. So I do think Warlock's going to make an appearance.
Be fantastic.
I think Magic Wand will also be there. Magic Wand has been
yes.
tucked away.
That's right. You did bring that up in one of your videos. The wands and how it has the use mechanic attached to it is really interesting.
Yeah. Someone on my videos did mention that for a brief second, you could see it held by a wizard in their channel trailer, or in the the Iron Mace, I guess it was playtest like 3 release trailer, but they're holding it alongside of a crystal ball, which
Interesting.
was really odd. Yeah, it was a main hand item.
Wow.
So I don't know how much that tells us about its like use, but
Right.
at least they had it like animated, like someone was carrying it.
Yeah. Very interesting.
So yeah.
Skillet asks, when are we guessing the EA drops? So that was at the very outset of the program today, Skillet. We said, well, it's the eve of the 9th. So Ryan's hopeful that maybe the game just drops tomorrow. And I'm kind of in that same boat because I think there's not going to be a lot of lead up to it. I think when they announce it, if they announce it, they're going to do it at a time where court or judges are not reachable in Washington State. And maybe tomorrow. If it's not tomorrow, I think we get another announcement tomorrow. But yeah, I think it should be before they have to appear in court. Otherwise, they risk the injunction actually holding them back. So I don't know. It would be sweet, man. It would
be sweet.
It would be sweet.
Would you pull an all-nighter? Scott, I know you got a family.
Oh my gosh.
Would you pull an all-nighter tomorrow?
I could. I actually can't. So I'm a soccer coach and a volleyball player, softball player, disc golfer, bowler, and I've got too many activities. But I have a parents' meeting on Saturday morning that I have to host. So I would not pull an all-nighter tomorrow if it released. I would pull an all-nighter Saturday. for sure.
Oh, nice, nice.
But yeah,
Dang.
man, I hope that we can do another one of these in the not too distant future, sir, as we wrap things up here, and at that time be talking about all of the adventures that we've had in early access. And it seems like somewhat of a dream at this point, sadly. But man, I would love to be shocked and have that early access tomorrow.
Oh man, dude, the religion of the nine would pop off. They would not let that rest if it happened.
I know
That Discord's gonna be crazy.
there will be websites, Wikipedia pages, T-shirts devoted to it. Oh, speaking of merch, with your artistic talents, have you dabbled in creating any kind of uh, merch for yourself? Not to sell, obviously, but I do a very small amount of graphic design, and I thought about making my own Dark and Darker T-shirt at one point just to wear on the show. Have you dabbled in any of that?
Oh, I don't know. Not necessarily like t-shirts or stuff to wear. To my background's in chemical engineering, so I was thinking maybe like some pre-rolled blunts or something. Something that's related to my, previous line of work, but I don't know. I haven't really thought about t-shirts. Maybe something something consumable.
Did you
No
buy the
idea, though.
coffee?
I didn't. I
Oh, you
was
missed it.
just late to that. Yeah.
Mm. I got one more
Did you
month
get
to wait. I got in. Yeah, I've got
what?
I've got the set coming. So my Madrinas coffee mug. I mean, everybody just got it for the mug. That's all I wanted. I wanted the goblet. So
I'm so jealous.
I'm stoked
That
for
is
that.
awesome.
Yeah, a couple people are like, "Yeah, I should have ordered 2 so I could keep one in the package," and that would have been cool. But yeah, man, I just want to drink out of my Dark and Darker Iron Mace mug like that. That's sick. I can't wait to do that. But I have thought about just making my own Dark and Darker stuff. Obviously, not to sell, but they've got so many good assets out there, like all these high res graphics, that it wouldn't be hard to throw together your own sweatshirt or t-shirt, something like that. So I've been toying around with that idea. Once EA hits, maybe I'll do it as like a kickoff celebration for whatever
Oh,
stream I end
yeah.
up doing. But hey, man, I'll stop rambling. I really appreciate you coming on. It has been an absolute blast. Thank you for everyone in the chat that hung out. Hopefully tomorrow we'll get, at the very least, an announcement. We'll get maybe a date, maybe a release, something. We'll take anything. I'll take anything at this point. I don't want to speak for you. I'll take any news.
Oh yeah, same. And yeah, thanks again, Scott, for having me. This is awesome. I'm honestly talking to you for real. You are a huge part of the Dark Nerd community and like how much it's grown. Like
No,
you're a
dude,
cornerstone.
not even close. No, you guys out there that are doing the work. I'm just trying to connect. I said this in my first interview with Jay. Like, I just want to get more players and more content creators together. So I'm the intermediary. I appreciate you saying that regardless. But yeah, you guys are the ones that are out there doing God's work, man. Like getting in there, mining the data. Guys like Jay that are sweaty as all hell. Strange, who's like just been out of his mind, grinding anything he can, waiting for Dark and Darker to come back. All of the guys that have agreed to do one of these profiles have just been top notch. So you are no exception to that rule, sir. I appreciate all that you do for the community as well.
I appreciate that. And yeah, this is enjoyable. Thanks again. And hopefully tomorrow, hopefully I'll meet you in the dungeon.
Yeah, man.
I would love to get killed by you in the dungeon. Longsword to the
Well,
face.
hey,
or mace to
we
the
got to
face.
team up, man. I want to get some good team play going, because one of the things that I have sucked at in previous playtests is actually connecting with people while the playtest is going and trying to get a couple raids in, because I end up playing about half of each playtest solo. I love playing solo, but I really love playing with other people as well. So yeah, I'll definitely be hitting you up in the future. Yeah, Skillet, no worries, man. He got the mug too. Good man.
Oh, Skill got the mug.
Yes.
Very jealous.
All right, guys. Make sure to check out Ryan's YouTube channel. He does phenomenal work. He does stream on Twitch. Once I publish the final edited version of the video, I will link to all of Ryan's socials in the description. It has been a pleasure, everybody. Ryan, thank you again for being here. God bless the 9th and the Dark and Darker community. Hope to see you guys in the dungeon soon.
Oh yeah, for the 9th. Thanks, Scott.
For the 9th, guys. We'll see you.